Yo, what is going on, everybody? So today's video is about some feminists in France, namely the mayor of France, who is she's found herself in a little bit of a pickle, but she doesn't consider it to be a pickle. Now, I know I speak a lot about feminists, and look, the reason I speak about them is because they do have a clear agenda, which they've been very open about, which is that they want to give more rights and more things to women. And that's fine, but those rights come at the expense of men often, and those privileges come at the expenses of men often, to the point where we're not actually achieving gender equality, we're actually achieving gender supremacy, which benefits women disproportionately. What do I mean by that? Well, boys are falling behind in schools, and feminists are railing against attempts to help those boys at school. Because why? Well, competent boys grow up to be competent men, and competent men tend to be more competitive than competent women. And when you get men who are more competitive than their counterparts, well, then they earn more money. And if they earn more money, then no, that's the gender pay gap, and that's somehow patriarchy. This is crazy stuff. But you know, most of you who are watching my channel know how nuts this stuff becomes. And I've recently watched a video. Well, I mean, I don't know if technically it's a video on YouTube, but it's actually an audio book in video format with just the cover of the book as the video on it. So I just basically pop the YouTube video and chuck it in my pocket, have my earpiece in, and I have a listen. And I've also got the book here. Come here. So 1984 by George Orwell. If you like to read, you absolutely must buy yourself a copy of George Orwell's 1984. If you like to listen, I will put a link to that audiobook in the description. It's about 11 hours. So particularly if you do a lot of driving or a lot of traveling, it's really great to listen to. I think just the first 25 minutes alone will be very revealing. But one thing that is a common theme throughout the book is something called doublethink. And some of you may have heard of this, some of you may not have heard of this. And I'm going to show you a quick little video about what doublethink is. Now, this video in total goes for about 5 minutes and 50, but I'm just going to show you a little snippet of maybe like a minute or so, because I really want you to grasp this concept because it's very applicable to what I'm going to be showing you in the rest of the video today. Let's bring this up. Okay, Ozzy McTalbear says he's not getting any audio. Hit 1 in the chat if you're not getting audio on that video that I've got up right now. Just want to make sure that you're all hearing it okay. And if you're not, I will share it in a different way so that you can see that. Okay, so we're not getting audio. I apologize for that, guys. Bear with me. Let me just reshare this, and I will bring that up so that you can hear what the tab is saying. Let me just take this back to where I was at there. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Bring out this tab now. Share audio. There we go. Fingers crossed this works. So hit 2 in the chat when I start playing this to let me know if you can hear it.
In 1984, the party used doublethink as part of its large-scale campaign of propaganda and psychological manipulation of its leadership and the public. Doublethink is the ability to hold two completely contradictory beliefs at the same time and to believe they are both true. Early in the book, doublethink refers to the ability to control your memories, to choose to forget something, as well as to forget about the forgetting process. Later on in the novel, as the party implements its mind control techniques, people ultimately lose the ability to form independent thoughts. Eventually, it becomes possible for the party to convince the public of anything, even if it's the exact opposite of what the public already knows to be true. Orwell defined doublethink as to know and to not know, to be conscious of complete truthfulness while telling carefully constructed lies, to hold simultaneously two opinions which canceled out, knowing them to be contradictory and believing in both of them, to use logic against logic, to
Okay, so I need an account to continue watching. We're not going to do that. I am going to jump back to this. So, guys, does this or does this not sound so incredibly familiar? So incredibly, obviously, this is obviously a metaphor for what we're seeing happening in modern feminism. And, all of the political correctness is basically an exercise in doublethink to control you by making you think that something that isn't true is true and making you think that something is true isn't true. And it's something that I see all the time. You could say, well, women are out earning men, but somehow that disproportionately affects women because it means they have to spend more time at work, or somehow disproportionately affects women because it means there's less eligible men, aka men who are richer than they are. And as Gray Walker just says, 1984 was supposed to be a warning, not a how-to manual. And that's exactly what it was, because he saw this coming. And we're seeing it all come to fruition. It's not even like, it's so obvious now. It's so unbelievably obvious and transparent that only people who are masters in the art of doublethink can possibly deny it. So I'm going to share with you this next screen. And this is what the article, today's video, is fundamentally about. But I want to preface it with a bit about doublethink, because you're going to see how doublethink plays out in this particular article. Paris City Hall fined for putting too many women in senior roles. Now, I'm like, okay, well, look, if lots of women got into those senior roles explicitly on merit over and above men, right? If they got in there and they had more attributes on merit than the men who were applying for the same jobs did, congratulations. I support that. If you can do the job better than somebody else, you should get the job. It's just as simple as that. There's no gender politics. There's no male and female. There's no patriarchy. There's no matriarchy. It's just, if you are the best person for the job and you are able to fulfill that job role more capably than other people, then you should get that job, period. Paris city authorities have been fined for employing too many women in senior positions, a decision mocked as absurd by the mayor, Anne Hidalgo. Let's have a look at Anne Hidalgo here. Being Paris mayor is like piloting a catamaran in a gale. So she's basically talking about how being mayor is very difficult. Well, I thought it would be easier having all these women in there to, push things forward with girl power, right? Paris city authorities have been fined. The fine of 90,000 euros or 81,000 pounds. Let me just quickly convert that to US dollars, because I know most of my viewers here are from the US. So we are talking about 109,000 US dollars and approximately 144,000 Australian dollars. That fine was demanded by France's Public Service Ministry on the grounds that Paris City Hall had broken national rules on gender parity in its 2018 staffing. And this 2018 staffing was nominated specifically by the mayor, who was saying things are so hard, Anne Hidalgo. Now, guys, this is going to be paid for with taxpayer dollars. She's not going to take this out of her own pocket and be like, oh, I'll take the hit. She's taking this out of the government, the council coffers, right? The municipal council coffers. She's taking this money out to pay the fine. So the people who are paying their rates, the people who are paying for garbage collection and for roads to be looked after and for the sewage to be maintained and for the electricity grid to be upheld and for council workers to make sure they keep everything tidy and clean and green and are basically well maintained. That money, instead of going towards what it's meant to go towards, is going to go towards paying this fine because this person is completely ignorant and doesn't have any respect for the rules that were put in place. Interestingly, the rules were initially put in place to ensure that females had close or equal representation. But it's turning around the other way. I am happy to announce that we've been fined, Hidalgo, a member of the Socialist Party, told a city council meeting, adding that she had been filled with joy when she learned of the penalty. So she was filled with joy to learn that she was going to have to pay 144,000 Australian dollars with taxpayer money to the regulatory body because she broke the rules. This is insane. Hidalgo said she was faulted because 11 women and only 5 men were named to management positions in City Hall in 2018, meaning that 69% of the appointments went to women. Now, a womanist would say, oh, well, it's only 19% more than 50%. There's like, yes, but that means that the men are also 19% less than 50%. Now, if we do the maths, there's 5 men and 11 women. That means that there are more than double the amount of women than there are men. The management of the City Hall has all of a sudden become far too feminist, said Hidalgo, facetiously, I presume, who was re-elected for a new term at the helm of Paris last year. According to the text of the ruling cited by Le Monde, City Hall violated a rule dating to 2013 that stipulates one sex should not account for more than 60% of nominations to management positions. So I presume they've basically used this to leverage the regulations to get more than 40% at least, if not more than 40% representation of women. And they've just kept on the V train. And here we are, choo-choo, pulling into the station. According, Hidalgo said she would take the check for the fine to the government in person, along with her deputy mayors and all of the women working for her. So every single one of the women working for her are going to put down their pens, shut down their computers, and they are going to walk down there and pay the fine with taxpayer dollars. Sorry, with ratepayer dollars. That's what they're going to do. Guys, this is nuts. This is genuinely nuts. And I've got another really good example of that I'll probably play for you at the end about how women who are in the public service and on the ratepayer and taxpayer dime waste time complaining about how oppressed they are. It's quite extraordinary. I got to be honest with you. Here we go. Taking a more serious tone, she added, this fine is obviously absurd, unfair, irresponsible, and dangerous. Now, I'm just let's just pull up the definition of dangerous, shall we? Let's see if the word fits the description. Being able or likely to do harm. Yeah. Harm to this thing, you know, the one that United Nations putting out, that's what it's going to do harm to. But anyway, she said, women in France should be promoted with vigor because the lag everywhere in France is still very great. Well, clearly not in the councils, it's not, because it's 69% female and 31% male. I'm just saying. Yes, to one day achieve parity, we must speed up the tempo and ensure that more women are appointed than men. Oh my God. Oh my God. Do they even know what parity means? They've been the ones using this term for so freaking long. Gender parity means that you have an equal amount. So you'd have 50-50 representation exactly. Now, I appreciate that sometimes that's not always possible. Like if there's an odd number or something, girl or guys, the last one, whatever, it doesn't matter. Right? It's as close as you can get to 50%. But there's an equal number of people in this council, 16 specifically. So that means you could have 8 and 8, and that would be parity. But no, we need to hire more women to achieve parity, even though we've far exceeded parity for women. Let's continue. Responding to Twitter, France's public service minister, Amelia de Montchalin, I think I got that right. If I didn't, I apologize for that to any of my French brothers, from the ruling La République en Marche, I think that's how I meant to say it again, not sure, acknowledged that the fine had been levied for 2018. Since then, the absurd rule on parity in management had been repealed, she noted. So they took away the rule that prevents people from having too many of one gender or another. I know where this is going. I want the fine paid by Paris for 2018 to finance concrete actions to promote women in the public service. Are you kidding me right now, bro? What? So let's refer back to doublethink here, where you can hold two contradictory positions on the same thing and believe that both are true. So there's a rule that was put in place to prevent there from being too many men. So they got more women, and then they kept hiring more women and more women and more women, and then they surpassed what they were allowed to hire relative to the other gender, which is of course men, because there's only two. And I mean, I know how YouTube censors, don't even try and get me on that two gender bullshit. There are men and women in the council, and I'm talking about the council right now. Leave it alone. So now we've gone from having not enough women to having not enough men. But now that we don't have anywhere near as many men as women, we're going to take the fine that was applied to the people who breached the rule because they had too many women to make sure that they hire more women. And in the meantime, we're going to take away the rule that prevents that from happening so that we can use the fine to do that. This is the UN agenda. Make no mistake. This is what's happening. So she invited them to the ministry to discuss the rules. She said in a message to Hidalgo, so the mayor that broke the rules are getting rewarded by getting invited to the ministry to find out how they can use the fine that they paid with council ratepayer dollars to hire more women after breaking a rule that said they couldn't hire more women because they'd already hired too many. You can easily see where this is going. You know, turning into a feminist government like Sweden has. See, government.se, government offices of Sweden, a feminist government. Sweden has the first feminist government in the world, it says. Of course, it says gender equality is central to the government priorities in decision-making and resource allocation. So who are they allocating the resource to? How many guys and girls they got? We got one, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I think it's 21. I just counted that really quickly. And of that, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's fairly equal in terms of representation. However, all of these dudes are complete manginas. My God. So I actually went and had a look. Where are we here? Ministries and ministers. Because this is the direction that France is taking. And it's the direction that any other government is going to take that follows down this path of doublethink, like what France is doing, like what Sweden's been doing. And here's the funny thing, right? Sweden's got a feminist foreign policy, which of course has resulted in more women getting grapefruited than ever before. But that's, of course, not something they're going to talk about. They're just going to blame men and not their own policy choices. So, Ministry of Employment, gender equality. We've got Eva and Asa. We've got an anti-discrimination and anti-segregation and Minister for Employment, Business Ministry and Innovation, Rural Affairs. I found a really good list before that kind of summarized it well, but I can't seem to see it right now. But look, that's irrelevant. I actually went into Sweden's Feminist Foreign Policy Handbook. It was really interesting. It says, I'm going to zoom in here so you guys can see. Essentially, Sweden's feminist foreign policy is a working method and perspective that takes 3 R's: rights, representation, and resources, which is based on the reality in which they live. This foreign policy is a transformative agenda that aims to change structures and enhance the visibility of women and girls as actors. And of course, it says they promote all women and girls' full enjoyment of human rights. There's no section in this policy that says that men and women should have equal rights or equal opportunities. And wherever it does, it always says, oh, we've got to keep men and women equal. But, thank you for that, Terrence Pop. I love that line. They always bring it back to how it can benefit women and not anyone else. We got Coach Greg Adams in the building, one of my most highly respected gentlemen in the manosphere. If you are not already checking out Coach Greg Adams on YouTube, you are missing out. Go and check him out on Instagram, on YouTube, at Coach Greg Adams. My brother from another mother. He says, Brother Sydney, thank you for bringing this information. I would not survive this work environment. 100%. That is exactly right. I totally agree with you, CGA, my man. I couldn't do it. I would freaking lose the plot. Now, this is from the Federalist, so this isn't from the Swedish government website, but it's saying how Sweden's feminist foreign policy, the one I was just talking about, has increased violence against the very people that they claim to protect because they don't think ahead. This is why the best chess players in the world are male. It's not because of gender bias, because you can be a chess player if you really, really like chess. But I've noticed that a lot of games and things that require high levels of long-term multi-step strategies tend to be better suited to men. And look, there's some women that can do this stuff, but I just find that more often than not, it's men who are actually taking the step out and being able to lay all this out. Now, I understand as well that Joe Biden's, well, Kamala Harris's cabinet, because, we know Joe Biden's just a puppet for her, is basically all women. They are taking a feminist position as well. They are on the attack. Red Sings the Blues says, sup man, donating to you. Shout out to you, Red Sings the Blues. He's got a good channel over there and also on Instagram. I believe it's Red Sings Blues on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, given their metrics, Sweden must be heading towards the claim of not real feminism soon. They're officially the world's first self-declared feminist government, a position now being chased by Canada and France. Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? And almost all the US Democratic presidential candidates, Kamala Harris, and bizarrely by Theresa May of the United Kingdom. I haven't seen anything from Theresa May, but that's not to say it's not there. There we go. French feminist foreign policy. They're the latest country to pledge allegiance to a gendered international focus. Will it work? Absolutely, it will not work. You know why? Because these things like unconscious bias are being scrapped one after the other after it's being found no evidence that it works. They've been scrapped in the UK. They were scrapped in the US by way of executive order. So these government program thing is, these Marxists were coming in and training government employees. And they've been doing the same with France. They've been doing the same all through Europe. They've been doing the same all through the Western world because they want to destroy the Western world. So this is why guys hate working in government. And it's interesting, right? Because I looked up the term patriarchy before. Now, patriarchy is a family, community, or society based on this system or governed by men. So we're talking government and politics right now. So let's talk about the society based on the system in which the father is the head of the family. So we're talking about governing by men. Now, we hear feminists saying all the time that Australia is a patriarchy. Now, in order for Australia to be a patriarchy, one thing must happen. It must be primarily governed by men. That would be the political metric for a government being patriarchal. So I did some research, gentlemen, and I went to the Australian Public Service Commission website because, you know, the Public Service Commission website would be the people with the data, right? Since the data is about the public service. And I did some searching and I found that 59% of the public service is female. 59% of all employees in the public service are women. Did you know that? Bet you didn't. Now, there's, you know, here we go. This is the graph since 1998. It's been a steady increase in the amount of women relative to the amount of men. Now, when we talk 59%, so it's almost double the amount of men in Australia, right, is the amount of women in the public service. And there was, let's do a quick search for this. I found something here about how many were there on boards. Damn it, it was somewhere, but I found something. It's 48 point something. Oh, okay. So they must have either removed it or I'm thinking about another article that I saw. But I did see that 48.2% of all people on government boards were female in Australia. 48.2%. That is basically parity. In fact, when you factor in how many more employees there are in the government than men, right, that are female, I mean, you can't really argue that Australia is any sort of patriarchy by any metric whatsoever. It's just insane. It really is. Damn it. Why am I not able to find this? Anyway, that's irritating. What else? But yeah, look, when I find that, I will bring that to the fore. But look, this is the thing, right? This is the double think. Australians saying that Australian government's a patriarchy, but yet we've got majority of government employees by a significant margin are female, and we've got almost 50% representation on government boards, representing a majority female government employee base. And of course, then you've got the unconscious bias training, which didn't work and is being banned as a result of being a money waste. Thank you to Stuart Barton for that super chat. He says, France's Gender Equality Minister Marlene Schiappa's anti-street harassment proposals include on-the-spot fines for catcalling and lecherous behavior in public. This is all part of the regulation of male sexuality. Now, I'm just going to come out here and say it. I don't think you should be going and just, you know, catcalling women in the street. It's not something that needs to be done. It's not something that needs to be done. In fact, I'd say that, you know, that's, in my view, that's simp behavior. Others may have a different view. That's just my personal perspective. Because if you can't attract a woman without whistling at her in the street, then you're probably not going to have any luck when you don't whistle at her in the street, unless she's got super low self-esteem. And that whistle you gave her was a validation kick. You might take her home, sleep with her. She might accuse you of something. She might not. You don't know. It's not worth it, guys. It really isn't. Stuart Barton says, correction, it's already law since 2017. I'm not sure what that was with respect to specifically. I'm thinking that you are referring to that catcalling anti-harassment law. But anyway, guys, I mean, look, this is really the agenda that's going on. They just want to have 100% women. And I think, was it Kamala Harris or someone else? They said that they wouldn't be happy until basically the government was 100% women, something like that, something to that effect. And I'm just seeing that move towards it. So, you know, we need to start voting with our feet. I wouldn't be surprised if the council elections were Dominion voting systems. We need to make sure that whenever we place our vote, and some of you may be very disillusioned with the recent events in the US, and I say, well, there's only one way, because look, eventually things are going to get caught out that are going wrong. It always happens over the course of time. So you really should always make sure that your vote counts, and always vote for someone that is anti-feminist, that is pro-egalitarian, that is saying we can't have too many of any particular gender governing our country. Because I'm all in favor of women having their say. I have no issue. Right? Vote, do whatever you want. Go into positions of power if you want, but just don't expect them to be handed to you because what you were born with between your legs. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. Thank you to the gentleman who dropped a super chat. If you'd like to donate, you can head on over to paypal.me/SydneyMGTOW. The link is in the description. Guys, I appreciate you. Make sure that you send this video to anyone who's on the fence, who needs a good red pilling about what's really going on at the moment and the tactics that are being used. Make sure you smash that thumbs up, leave a comment. Please keep it respectful, because I'd like to keep this channel up for a while so that we can hopefully spread the good word to other men and other people that need to hear this message. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here for now. I look forward to catching you in the next video. Again, shout out to Coach Greg Adams for dropping in, and thank you to my faithful moderators and my channel members. If you want to become a member of this channel, you can hit the join button next to subscribe on my channel page. But until next time, peace.